Hey, what's up, Logos Psychology students? Welcome back. It is day 30 of our e-learning. We have reached a major milestone. That's right. It has been 30 days that we've been doing 30 school days of this e-learning thing. I've been keeping track, and I know it might feel longer, it might feel shorter, but day 30 of e-learning. I know we've been out of school longer than that. The whole country and the whole community has been shut down. Even longer than 30 days because you count weekends and spring break. I mean, it's been a while since we've been together, and it's gonna be a while longer, right? We have the June 5th date is the official date that Logos is closed through. It's almost certainly going to be longer than that before we are all at Logos. I don't know if you've been watching the news. Some things have been opening up around us, right? If you're in Illinois, the governor has kept the state closure extended through this month. If you're in Missouri, the governor has begun reopening the state. Now, St. Louis City and County, if you are like me and live in either of those, there's going to be an announcement today about, I think May 18th is the date they're going to be talking about today when they begin allowing businesses and other things to reopen, but it won't be schools. Schools will be one of the last things that we see reopened. And that's just because, again, we don't want to do anything to jeopardize the safety and health of students. I mean, schools are a great place to spread viruses, and so they will be one of the last places to open before we get the all clear, everything's safe. So we're going to be continuing this for the foreseeable future, and that's fine because you guys are doing a great job with the work online, and also a great job with attending the Zoom meetings. And that's the first thing I want to talk about, because as we look at our Blackbaud bulletin board, there it is, Thursday, that's tomorrow, 9 a.m. That's when this class will be meeting for our weekly Zoom meetings. And I know I have the earliest Zoom meeting of any teacher, but it's just one day a week that you need to be up a little earlier probably than you're used to at 9 a.m. If you don't, if you need to set an alarm clock, if you need to do whatever you can to make sure you're there at 9 a.m. I'll be sending out the link today in messages and emails. There will also be the link on Blackbaud under assignments. Also, there'll be an announcement on the bulletin board with the link. So there's multiple ways to get in there. Just make sure you're up at 9 a.m. Set an alarm clock. If you have to stay up all night, try not to do that. But whatever it takes. I was really happy to see those of you who were in that Zoom meeting last week. I want to see if we can set a record for most attendees in a Zoom meeting so far this term. I think we've had 4. Let's see if we can get 5, maybe 6. That'd be awesome. But whoever can make it, 9 a.m. If you, for whatever reason, can't make it, this is an easy way to earn participation points. You don't have to show your video. Some people are nervous about that. You don't have to share your audio. You just have to sign in, and you get free participation points just for showing up. On the other side, if I don't hear from you, if you just skip the Zoom meetings, that's a 0. So if you absolutely can't make the Zoom meetings, let me know, and I can excuse you from that, right? But I'd like everyone to do whatever they can to try to attend that Zoom meeting, and if you absolutely can't, let me know so you don't take a hit on that participation grade. And they've been fun. They've been informative. No pressure. Just, discussing the topics that we've been discussing, but also just discussing how to get the best grade possible, the most credit possible for this class. That's what I'm here for. I want to make sure you guys get, as much education as you can given this circumstance, but also as much credit as you possibly can given the circumstances. And speaking of that, let's take a look at our topics. Go to our topics tab, and our current topic is sociocultural influences in self. And if we go into the topic, right, we see our downloads for our readings. We also, I've mentioned this, but I'll mention it again because I don't know if anyone's taken advantage yet. Hopefully people will as the term goes on. All of the assignments, including all previous assignments, are in here as Google Forms. We scroll all the way down to the bottom. We see going back to chapter 19, right? And then if we scroll back up to the top, we are on today's assignment, chapter 20, page 600. to 603. Chapter 20 is the last chapter in the book. We are getting towards the end of the chapter. We'll talk about what we're going to do going forward once we get through chapter 20, because there is no chapter 21. But we'll figure something out. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that more in the Zoom meeting tomorrow. As for today, our daily reading is always, most current one at the top. Most current assignment matches with the reading. I always like to do the download of the reading before I start the assignment, so I have it right there in front of me. And the readings today, they're related to the readings from yesterday and Monday. I apologize if you are having trouble answering some of those questions for the reading, because they should put the questions in order, but what I'm finding is as we get towards the end of the book, some of the questions come before the pages for the reading to answer the questions. So one of the questions was asking about the prisoner guard experiment, and that is on page 600 in the book. The question's on page 599, so if you haven't read page 600, you'd have a hard time answering that question. But here's the case study for that Stanford prison experiment, and there's a question you'll be answering for that. And then there was also a question about stereotypes, and this is going to give us more information, the next two pages, page 602 and 603, about stereotypes. And then there's one question to answer about stereotypes. And of course you answer those questions through the assignments, right, which can be accessed again on topics. They're right there. Just those two questions, right? Chapter 20, 1, 2. But they can also be accessed through assignments. If we go back to assignments, they're right there under assignments. And there's just those two questions to answer. And then, of course, there's the question of the day. And let's take a look at the question of the day. Question of the day is, there's a video to go along with it. And it goes along with this infamous experiment, the Stanford prison experiment conducted by this guy, a guy named Zimbardo, who is a psychologist, professor at Stanford University, and he devised this experiment at Stanford University that became one of the most infamous experiments in the history of psychology. So it's a 30-minute program, not long. It's really interesting. I encourage you to watch it. Let's take a look at how it starts out. Let's see.
I was the first one to be picked up, so they put me in a cell. They locked me in there in this degrading little outfit.
Hey, I don't want anybody laughing.
So these were students at Stanford who volunteered to participate in this experiment. And they basically created a prison environment. And they assigned these
Screamed so loud in my life.
These participants randomly the position of guard or prisoner, and they wanted to see if you created this prison environment, would it change how people acted? If you assigned people the role, and again, these weren't real prisoners, they were just playing a role, but if you assigned them the role of prisoners or guards, would this environment change their behavior, affect their behavior? And that's what the question of the day is getting to. How do you think your behavior would change? How do you think you would have behaved if you were a prisoner in this experiment? How do you think you would have behaved if you were a guard? Again, there's no right or wrong answer. Please do your best to answer the question and watch the video before you attempt to answer the question, right? Because the video is actually, there's the reading about the experiment, and then there's the video, and it's going to give you a lot of information on this experiment. Again, it's one of the most infamous experiments because there's some ethical questions here. Was it right to run this type of experiment? Did it cause any harm to the participants? I mean, they were volunteers. Is it okay to harm people if they volunteer for an experiment? These are big questions that are raised by it, but more so the behavior of the participants taught us a lot about human nature. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Answer the question of the day. Answer those two questions from the readings, and if you have any issues, let me know. But I hope to see all of you in that Zoom meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Peace.